A few things we're going to cover here today. We will be going over the following. That includes reviewing recent updates, new functionality we've added to the product since the beginning of the year. And I'll talk a little bit about recently added contents to the index. We'll talk about the upcoming release schedule. We've got 2 more releases left for the remainder of 2018. I'll do a deep dive into August and talk a little bit about what else you can expect at the end of this year. And then I'll wrap up by talking a little bit about some of the community and collaboration opportunities you have. In particular, I want to highlight the NERS voting process from Igloo and Aluna and make sure that you're getting out there and you're voting and putting your word in for new functionality for the 2018-2019 roadmap. So first, let's focus on some of the recent updates we've seen in Summit. We just recently added in the ability to save searches beyond a single session. We do that using Google Drive. Users can now go in, and if you have this turned on within your system, do a search, click on the little star that you can see highlighted in yellow in the mock-up, and save that search for future use by signing into Google and having it saved to your Google Drive. We had good feedback around this functionality. We also got some feedback on other options for it. So we are continuing to work on this feature moving forward, including taking a look at how do we add Microsoft OneDrive, making a temporary only by session folder available, things like that. But so far, this has been a great feature to add, and it came off of the Idea Exchange. It was one of the top ideas off of the Idea Exchange. Which, if you're unfamiliar with the Idea Exchange, you should go out there and post ideas to that. And I'll talk about that more a little bit later. Next, let's talk a little bit about Topic Explorer and some of the changes we made there. You can now have more controls over Topic Explorer, the look and feel. You can determine the order in which the items appear in Topic Explorer now and turn them on or off. Another great thing about Topic Explorer that we changed in the past, it had to have an encyclopedia entry in order for it to be triggered and to be displayed. Now that requirement has been removed, and you can now have this show up a lot more. So you'll be exposing a lot of things like related topics, suggested librarians, and recommended research guides on a more frequent basis. And then finally, you now have the ability to determine which appears first. So does custom panes appear at the top, or does Topic Explorer? So you can decide which one takes priority. Again, giving you a lot more controls over Topic Explorer. Next, we added in the ability to customize advanced search fields. This is one of the features that came out of the new enhancement request system voting for last year, and was something we released in May. You can now turn advanced search form fields on or off and determine what order they come in to really customize that and make it look like your own search form and to meet your needs. Journal search improvements. End of last year, we released a bit of functionality that allows you to search only within a specific journal. When you search on keywords that match a journal title, you get a link that says, would you like to search only within this journal? When that came out, we got some great feedback around that, including the request to make this something you could activate by clicking on a journal title as well. That is now in the system. As you can see from the sort of exploded view there, it doesn't pop out like that. That's just to show you that when you click on that title, the search box at the top of the page will be refreshed to look like that gray box you can see right there. It's fully configurable by your institution. You can turn it on or off by access via either method, the link, or the keyword trigger in the search box. And it accommodates title searches in a variety of languages, including Chinese, Japanese, and Korean characters. I want to highlight this feature because it came out in one of the maintenance releases, and I want to make sure you know about it, the ability to opt out of merging catalog records. Again, this was something that got a lot of votes in the Idea Exchange, and it was something we saw that we could add to the product and would hopefully empower you to get your job done the way that you'd like. So what that means is you now have increased controls over your catalog records and the ability to control the display information. So you'd rather it not merge and have any display information included that comes with the merge record. You can mark a catalog collection from merging, and so it's on a collection by collection basis. You go into the admin console under content ingestion, and there's a catalog merge setting page. You specify which catalog collection you'd like to exclude, and it's fairly straightforward. There is the changes will be made in the next scheduled search update. So if you make it in the early part of the week, it will be live by Friday. If in the second part of the week, it will be live for the next Wednesday. It will opt all records out of merging other records for that collection. If you want to see documentation on it, please check out the Knowledge Center. There's an article called Summon Catalog Merge Opt Out, and that will give you details on exactly what's going on there if you'd like more information. And if you have feedback on this, please let me know. I haven't got much feedback on this yet. I would like to know if it's meeting your needs. And so if it is, please let me know. Or if it's not, if there's anything we can do better, I'll have my email address at the end of the session, and this is one of the many reasons why I'd love for you to reach out to me and give you some feedback on how we're doing with Summon. Increased frequency of some overall updates. This came out as part of the ALMA release for July. You now have a daily schedule for publishing. Previously, it was twice a week. It has now been changed to daily and will occur at 8 o'clock in the evening based on the local time for your instance of Summon. So wherever your global instance is, once a day you'll now be able to do those updates. That means that for the increased frequency of writes that we launched at the end of last year and the beginning of this, you'll now be able to have those writes be applied on a daily basis, and anything else, including the catalog ads functionality, will have the August release, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. You just go into ALMA, under Resources, Publishing, and Publisher Profiles, and you could be able to change that to being more frequently updated. So again, once a day you can do that. Excuse me. In addition, we continue to add to the content that you find within the index. You can see a selection here of some of the folks we've added or some of the collections we've added in the last 3 months. Last quarterly webinar, we were at 3.1 billion items. We are now at 3.27 and growing with hundreds of updates. We continue to update or refresh content within the index, as well as adding new content. As you can see here, we added a few collections from Bloomsbury Academic, added some IEEE records, some things from Elsevier, Oxford University Press, and a variety of other providers out there. Let's talk a little bit about the roadmap and what we have left to do for 2018. So for the second half of 2018, for our release schedule, we have one release scheduled for August and November. The August one is August 1st, November is November 7th. These major releases include a preview environment 2 weeks prior to the release. These major releases include full documentation, release notes, and a variety of other support. It also includes a preview environment, which this preview environment will be available a week from today on July 18th. So for the August 1st, you'll have July 18th till the August 1st production date to preview any functionality we might release. Any other month we have planned maintenance. I always like to remind folks that you're prepared for this. And in September, October, December, we will likely have maintenance releases. If there's nothing to be updated, we'll skip those releases. They're limited to features that don't impact the end user without activation. As I mentioned before, that catalog merge exclusion functionality came out in a maintenance release, but that's something you need to go out and actually tag and have process in order to see an impact. So we try to limit it to that. No preview environment for those maintenance releases and minimal documentation, only when required. So again, here are the release dates that we had for our quarterly releases for 2018. We hit the February 7th and May 9th dates. August 1st is coming up, and we're on track to launch then. And then November 7th, as I mentioned, is the last release for the year. In both the August and November release, we'll have that preview environment. We had a successful completion of all functionality promised for the February and May releases. August, we have a variety of functionality planned here. I'll go into detail on each one of these, as well as what you should expect from the November release, which includes things like citation trail and link data support. And then, as always, we continue to work on search speed improvements. We have a variety of parts of the system that we analyze on a regular basis to see where there might be some latency or some areas where we can get more speed improvements. And as we discover those, we will add those into the releases or the maintenance releases. So let's talk a little bit about the August release and what you can expect there. Again, the preview starts next Wednesday, July 18th. So one thing I want to call out real quick about this release is that a lot of the functionality related to index and relevance improvements. As such, the preview environment this time, you're not going to see a lot of visible changes, and there's not any changes that we made that should impact the API. So as you go up the preview this time around, the preview you're not going to have much of a visual reaction to have. You can still play around with whatever functionality you have out there if you wanted to try out different colors for your background, see what's happening in Topic Explorer these days. Any of that functionality, you'll still be able to go in and play with all of it and just test out something you'd always want to try with someone that you'd like during this 2-week period. But again, I'll try to call it out with each slide. If you don't see these changes necessarily within the preview environment, it can be because either they're subtle or they won't be available for production. And I'll call those out as we go along. Increased frequency of catalog additions. So now, as of the August release, catalog ads will be processed in 24 hours or less. I'll talk a little bit about that 24-hour time frame. In most cases, ads are going to be processed within the hour. We have a system set up now where it'll check on an hourly basis. You'll be able to see those ads happening a lot quicker. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get deletes or changes in. We are still taking a look at how to resolve those. For the August release, ads will happen at least once a day, in most cases within an hour. Occasionally, it may take longer based on the number of records being processed, loads on the processing system, and a variety of other factors. Also, twice weekly during search index updates, a lot of the processes used for this ad process will be engaged with that search index update, which means we will have to pause catalog ads twice a week. So on Sundays and Mondays, there will be about a 12-hour window where we pause those updates. And so during that time frame, and again, it's Sunday, depending on where you are, it should be either very early morning if you're on the Pacific coast of the U.S. like me. It should be start then. If you're on the other side of the world, it should be wrapping up at the end of Sunday or Wednesday evening. But during those days, there will be a slight gap where you have about 13 to 14 hours before a catalog ad will be processed, depending on the length of that processing time required for the search index update. But again, the thing that I want to be clear on is that most will be within an hour. At least once a day it will be processed. For some of the overall customers, it will be synced up with that daily update. And if for some reason you see an issue with ads happening, if you wait a day, you should know that by then they will have been processed. And if there's an issue, please contact us and we can help you out with that. And I should note that this will be something you will be able to see within the preview environment. So during the 2-week period, you want to go in and try adding some records. The system will go out and process those, and you should be able to see that change reflected in the preview environment. Now, those same catalog records in the production environment, you won't see those go live within 24 hours until we flip the switch after the August release. Then you'll be able to see that within production. But for the time being, if you, in the preview environment, if you submit ads for the catalog, you should be able to see those changes take place within the preview environment. And then within the search index update in production, those will be folded into the overall summon index. And we'll have documentation, and I'll send out some links and some details on this on the release notes. We're also doing some testing around some relevance improvements. Journal ranking boost is the one that we're testing right now. The idea here is that you take the journal ranking score for a record and give it a boost based on the strength of that journal. It's based on journal title keywords and search terms, and also in the matching of the individual record, so that when you get that record, if it is from a journal rank, a good SJR indicator, which is the indicator provided by the organization you can see here on the screen. You can go to the URL there to find out a little bit more about it. We tested a variety of ranking, and this seemed to give us our best benefits from the functionality. We looked at a variety of test cases that we had that identified this as a possible way to improve relevance in our testing environment. We see some really positive changes around the relevance using these new boosts. What we'll do, and I'm sure you've heard me tell you this before, but I just want to repeat it for those who might not have heard it, is that we will test multiple candidates. What we'll do is in August 1st, we'll turn these on. We'll take a very small percentage of traffic from someone and feed them these new algorithms. We have approximately 8 algorithms that we'll be testing. We then compare the interaction with those results to what's happening with the current algorithm, and whichever one gets the best interaction or the best performance compared to the others will be promoted as the new algorithm, and that will be done in the next subsequent maintenance release. Again, this is one that you won't be able to see in the preview environment and in the production environment unless you knew you were comparing them side by side. It's hard to tell the difference between whether you were doing the test algorithm or not. But again, we will keep you posted on how the testing goes, and again, we've seen some really good performance in testing and expect to see a better algorithm come out as part of this process. In addition, we're doing a variety of multilingual search improvements. In the June release, we've already released the Korean transliteration improvements, how to handle a better handling of the Hanja to Hangul transliteration, so you can handle different treatment of Hanjas, such as the ones you see on the screen here. We've also increased and improved the English synonym list to address spelling variations, including the variation on the word paleopathology, as an example. And then finally, for the August release, we've done some improvements to Did You Mean? We continually go through and update this information and make sure it's working properly. We focused in on French and German Did You Mean functionality to update the term dictionary. We also provided a boost based on the user interface language. So in other words, if I'm using the interface for someone and I have it set to French, any type of search that I do using a French term, responses in French, will be given a slight boost over other languages. Similar boosts are in place for Japanese and Chinese. Now it's in place for French and German. And as I said, we're always looking at how we can improve this Did You Mean functionality. So let's talk a little bit about the November release and what you can expect there. So first off, citation trail. This is a bit of functionality that we've had in Primo, and we're now adding this to Summon because we've seen some good interaction with it. And I personally am excited about how this functionality works. The idea that you can take a single article and use that as sort of a touchstone or a starting point for your research, and you can follow the path of that idea in that journal article by looking at where it has been cited, for what articles that article has cited itself, and follow that path to learn more about the evolution of that idea. So that's scheduled for the November release. We're also working at adding linked data support. The biggest piece for the November release is making sure that we have a structure in place to be able to leverage that linked data. What we do with linked data is dependent upon the maturity of the publisher's harvested linked data information. We're doing some analysis and some work on that right now to see how the structure is working and implementing it within some. The example of how this may manifest within the user interface includes displaying related subject terms and providing connections based on others' names. And again, some of these services are going to rely on the maturity of that publisher data. Also want to talk about a variety of other things that don't fall within those two releases. The roadmap goes much beyond just the standard release items. We're currently working on sizing, scoping, and scheduling a lot of changes for some of Alma so that these two products can work better and be more tightly integrated. And that includes some improvements to the service pages that you get via the Alma product. Work on the journal search integration within some of Alma. Work on citation lookup. Give access to some index flag reporting that's now available to all Summon customers via the Client Center, and work on improving course reserves. And particularly looking at the frequency of updates that we do for that information. I am working on getting dates for all these. I'm also working on putting together a session similar to this to talk about some of our Alma development and the progress there. It'll be targeted particularly to those Alma customers. So if you are an Alma customer, I will be reaching out to you in the next couple of weeks to find out a good time to meet so that we can have this presentation and also get your feedback and make sure that what we're doing on the roadmap meets your needs. We continue to improve API documentation. The team internally was just playing around with integration with systems such as Canvas or Blackboard, and we should have some good learnings coming out of that we'll publish via the API documentation and developer network. We're also working on some how-to blog posts, and you should see those there shortly. And we continue to work on improving analytics and reporting. We've done some cleanup around OBI reporting this year, and we will continue to work on adding things like open access, facet reporting, and click track. Finally, let's talk a little bit about community and collaboration and what we've got going on in engaging with you, the user community. Biggest thing we've got is that the NERS voting process is underway for the 2018-2019 feature set. If you're not familiar with NERS, that's the new enhancement request system that's run by Igloo and Illuna, the major ex-Libris user groups that are run by you, the users. The deadline has been extended this Friday, July 13th, so there's still a chance to vote. If you go to that URL, you can see on the screen, NERS or ners.igloo.org, and that will take you to the site to vote. Please get in there and vote. We pulled a lot of, the groups pulled a lot of ideas from the idea exchange and added those to the ballot, and so please get in there and vote, because this will help us determine what's important to you for the 2018-2019 system. And if at all possible, we'll begin with November. We left some room in that November release so that we could add some NERS candidates in there if possible. It'll depend on timing and size and what ends up being the top votes. But you can definitely see an impact to the product from the engagement of Igloo and Illuna. The custom paintings that we had last year, a lot of customizations to the user interface that we got in the last 12 months, a lot of that came out of this voting system for 2017 and 2018, and I've been really excited about the influence and the improvement that this has fostered within the product, especially those custom panels. I think that was a great win for this piece. So please be sure to make sure the 2018-2019 feature set is just as successful by going out and voting by this Friday. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about some other engagement opportunities. Igloo 2018 is coming up quickly. It's just a little over a month away, August 20th through 23rd in Prague. I'll give my regular Summon update and then be there for a Q&A session. There'll be other sessions around Summon, a lot of good things to learn on Summon, Alma, and all the ex-Libris products. We'll do some product announcements there, and I'll be there, so please come see me if you're there. I try to make it over to these user groups, and it's the best place for me to get a lot of feedback. The Summon over Alma pieces I just showed you a moment ago, a lot of that feedback came from meeting at the Illuna North America group and at ALA, so I really appreciate it if you can take time to come find me and talk to me about what you're seeing with the product when you attend these events. And then finally, I just want to highlight, we do have the idea exchange out there for both Summon and for content. So if you want to see something happen there, it's a great place to post and get some interaction with your colleagues and provide feedback to us. I go out and review the idea exchange periodically to make sure that we're listening and that we're including features that you want in the product. And again, as I mentioned, it's fed into the NERS voting process, which, unlike the NERS voting process, the idea exchange, we're not committed to a time frame for developing this functionality, but it still is a great vehicle to get your ideas out there. So please participate when possible. And that is it for my prepared statements. As I mentioned before, there's my email address for feedback.